The modern buyer's journey has fundamentally changed, but most sales teams are still running the same playbook. So that's why I have one of the best sales leaders I've encountered, Kevin Dorsey, or it was like to be called KD. We sat down and we talked about how can you get in front of the buyer and keep the buyer engaged, because he is one, so that they are listening to you throughout the entire sales cycle. And as you all know, we have the state of meetings report by Calendly, and we dive into some data. My favorite data that we dug into, though, is that 39% of professionals find off-camera meetings acceptable. So we talk about the challenges of virtual selling if people don't have their camera on and how you can get their camera on. We also talk about how to make sure to keep the agenda tight, which is also a report we talked about. 60% of boomers are actually open to interject in a meeting if the meeting is going off track. So we talk about how you can leverage these data points from the report, how Katie, as an experienced buyer, walks you through as a seller, how you can convert more meetings and sell more business. As you all know or may have seen, Katie is a very experienced sales leader across multiple different industries. And so the insights we're going to get today are going to be awesome. And so I want to start with the first question, which is most sellers, as we all know, have never been buyers. So it's sometimes hard to be in the buyer's shoes if you've never been a buyer yourself. So what are some significant changes you've seen in, let's say, in the past couple of years on how the buyer experience has changed, and what should sellers be more aware of?
Yeah, I mean, as a buyer, even with my own teams, one of the biggest changes that impacts everyone is just the amount of people that need to get involved to make a decision, right? Like the idea of decision maker now is just a comical thing to think about. There's like a decision maker. Like, you got to talk to everybody. You got to get finance on. They want to get ops involved. They want to get marketing involved. So one, there's way more people involved. But also, what I think a lot of sellers either misunderstand or realize is how many more options there are now, right? Like, when Sales Loft was coming to market or Outreach was coming to market, there were 2 of them. So it was there wasn't that much to think about. Which one do you like more and go? Now for almost every product category, there's another 9, 10, 15 other things in there, which gets buyers, in their heads a little bit, because you want to go out and see if you're getting the best, which creates a whole lot of overwhelm, which is just not fun to go through. And so I think those are 2 of the big ones. I just wish sellers understood also, and we'll get into this, how busy buyers are. Like, I am quite literally trying to buy software right now for my teams. I'm the CRO. I am trying to buy software, and I cannot find the time to finish the process out. I've got things in my inbox. Quite literally this morning, I was like, oh, I got to get back to that person. And I'm the one that reached out. To get it, right? But you're so busy that it's hard to bring things across the line.
Okay, so how you're so busy, there's a lot of stuff going on. How can a seller make it easier for you?
First and foremost, and this is going to go against what a lot of them think they have to do, you have to work better with my team. Because if my team is sold head over heels on something, it makes my life a lot easier. Right? Where too often, everyone says, you got to get to top, you got to get to the power. But for the most part, it's actually getting the complete buy-in of everybody else, where I don't need to waste that much time analyzing it myself. So that's the first one, is you got to sell the hell out of it to the team. I might make the decision, but I'm the last person that actually needs to be sold. Because if my team isn't sold, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't. And too many people actually skip that part. So that's definitely one. And then 2, it's like, give me the bullet points, right? So this happened with a company that we're looking at right now, where my team had looked at it. They had all gotten to yes, KD, we like this thing. We want to move forward with this. All right, cool. Let me go see it. I was like, and I asked my team specifically, I was like, do they know what I care about? They're like, yep, they know what you care about. And then I get on there and they give me a full hour-long demo of the entire product, not addressing any of the things that I care about. So much so, Morgan, I actually paused them halfway through. I was like, hey, cool. This is what I care about. Can you at least show me this? Word for word, Morgan. They stepped back. Yep, don't worry. We'll get to that. And then kept going down their little demo train,
and
right?
You probably were like, what is...
I did you should have seen the Slack channels blowing up on our end. You're like, oh boy, here it goes. Yeah, Here it goes. But like, that's one, like, by the time you get to the decision maker, it actually should be very short, punchy to what you know about my business to make it easier for me to buy. Too often sellers make the buyer sell themselves. You show them the product and then you're hoping they can sell themselves on it versus like, here's everything we know about your business, why it matters. I got 15 minutes to show you X, Y, Z. It's going to change this for you. What do you think? That would be so much easier for someone to make a decision with.
I feel like that most sellers, right? They go into, I have to show this thing because I was told to, instead of doing the thing that actually would get them the deal, which is what they want.
Yeah.
So it's like, sounds like that scenario.
It's funny. It brings me all the way back to one of the first Rainmakers I presented. This is 8-9 years ago.
Shout out to Rainmaker. That's how OG.
Yeah, like bring it all the way back where I was like, you are losing. I was like, stop selling your whole product. You were losing deals over parts of your product the buyer didn't even care about. They didn't even care about it. You shouldn't have even shown it to them. But now you're like, oh, I actually didn't like how that dashboard was set up. And it's like, it had nothing to do with what I was trying to achieve. So I think that's just sellers tend to oversell more than they realize. They're just hoping if they show enough, that's going to be enough for the buyer to want to make a choice. And it doesn't work that way.
I want to actually bring back something you talked about, which is when they're getting to you, it needs to be more concise, bullet points, etc. And let's talk about the inverse. When they're working with your team, maybe it's the managers or directors, is that where you need to be maybe a little bit more detailed and descriptive and not do the bullet points so that you can get as much data as possible? And so like when you're in those meetings, people aren't multitasking or they're doing other things, so then you're not getting the full data. Like, unpack that a little bit more.
So I talk about the 3 I's when it comes to buying, right? You go low for info, middle for insight, high for influence, right? So at the lower end, if you're working like with managers, directors, this is where you should be gathering a lot of the info, right? Of like, what are the things that you need to know? But here's what people skip. I just led this training with my team 3 weeks ago, is they rarely ask the people like called the low or the middle about the person at the top. They never ask, like, how do they make decisions? What do they care about? How do they communicate? What would get them excited about? They never ask about this, mythical person at the top, right? Like, my people know me. You know me. If you say you were a director under me and someone was pitching you and said, all right, so like, what does it take to get KD like bought in to something? You'd be like, yo, keep it short, keep it punchy. Don't send them a fucking voice note, and make sure, right? Like, you're going to need the data and you're going to need to be quick with it. Now you can already sell me better, but people don't even gather that info. So you buy at that info and insight level. You need to be gathering as much, but then crafting a very tailored presentation to bring all the way to the top. By the time you get to me, it should be about my business, not yours. Here's everything we learned from all the people we've talked to, very in detail. Here's specifically how it's going to impact your business and team in 20 minutes. That's the move.
Yeah, don't send KD a voice note unless you already know that. I thought our relationship was about to be over.
It was close.
We recovered it, but it was on the fridge.
Yeah.
So I know that you don't like voice notes, but you do like video. So one thing I do want to talk about here is actually 2 things. Is one, when someone is like in a meeting itself, and let's say they're a seller and they're trying to talk to the buyer, and the buyer's not on video, what are ways that you maybe encourage your sellers to get the buyer on video? Because I feel like that's when you best can understand, like, am I saying the right things? Is their body language off? Right? We want to make sure that that's there. I'm curious on your perspective on this.
Yeah. So more than anything, the first time is just ask for it, right? Hey, Morgan, I'm going to have my camera on. I just, love that face-to-face. Would you be able to have your camera on for today's call as well? Like, just ask for it, first of all, right? Like, that's the first step. You'll be shocked how many people are like, oh, yeah, like, sure. Like, they just don't have a video culture at their company, right? So they don't even think about it. So that's step 1. But step 2, maybe even more important than that one, is make the demo so engaging that it doesn't matter. Right. So one of the things that I talk about a lot with my own team and teams that I work with is this concept of make them hold it. Right. This idea of like make them hold it. You think you've traveled a lot overseas. So, like if you go overseas and you go through like a bazaar or like the farmer's market or whatever, like the vendors, even in like the mall, right? The vendors are doing everything they can to get you to like hold the thing.
Yeah.
Because if they can get it into
a little aggressive too.
Oh, dude, absolutely. They'll throw it at you, right? They're like, oh, and then they won't take it back from you, right? Because they know like that is a key to get you to buy. And so you want to think about the demo the same way, is where can you make them hold it? How can you make the demo interactive? How could you hand over the keys to them? Say, all right, so I'm going to walk you through this. So real quick, Morgan, I'm going to give you control of my screen. I want you to first click on this blue button up. Not enough people do the reverse demo, and they should. Because now, whether my camera's on or not, you are forcing me to engage. I have to pay attention because now you're asking me to do things. So that's the next big one, is like, take your product and make it interactive, right? Make this something where they have to participate. And then you ask them, make them hold it questions. Because that's also where, and you can do this very quickly. If you establish early on, you're going to ask good questions, people pay attention. But if the first 2-3 questions throughout the demo are like, does that make sense? Any questions? I've already zoned out because I know you're not asking me anything I should have to participate in, versus the make them hold it questions are questions that force a thoughtful answer. Whereas going, all right, so Morgan, of this report and this report, which one would you prioritize first? Now you're getting me to picture the using of it, but I actually have to stay engaged, and I don't want to sound stupid if I'm not paying attention. So like, those are my keys. Is first, ask for it. Have yours on, sellers. It's still shocking to me how often sometimes sellers still don't have their cameras on. I'm like, yo, ask for it, but then make them hold it in the demo. Where can you get them involved in it? That is crucial.
I love that. And I think that, to your point, right, now that that person's interactive, if you have multiple decision makers on the call, everyone feels like it was interactive, right? And they were a part of it. And I know you spoke about this before. I've used this a lot because I saw your advice on it, is making a video proposal for the decision makers, even if you haven't met them, because for the people you haven't met. So talk a little bit more about that, on how sellers should be leveraging video that way. I think it's actually the most underrated thing sellers can do. And I feel like from a buyer perspective, you just said you're busy. It's probably a lot easier for you to watch a 6 to 8 minute video rather than sit in a 30-minute meeting. So I want you to unpack that a little bit more for everybody.
So kind of in theme, right? Because the pushback I get from people is like, I couldn't possibly explain my product in 15 minutes. I said, then you haven't done enough discovery. Plain and simple. Like, if you can't explain it in 15 minutes in a way that would make me want to engage with it, you haven't done enough discovery there. And so I love getting that video over, like, you know, whatever you call it, like over like an actual like demo, because I can get that video, I can watch on 2x speed while I'm sitting in like the airport waiting to board, and like get the gist of what I'm looking for there to go through it. So I think video is huge, but again, the video has to be tailored to me. KD, this is like the framework I teach, and it works for proposals as well as KPIC, right? This is the framework I teach, right? KPIC, here's what I know about you. Here's what I know about you and your business, right? That's what Morgan, here's what I know, right? You are growing AMP. You are really trying to get founders bought in, but you're having a hard time figuring out how to convince founders to be the face. So I'm doing no, and then the P in KPIC is problem. Here's the problems that I know you are dealing with. Then you get to the I, which is impact. Here's what those problems are causing. Then you get to the first C, which is connect the dots. Then you get to the second C, which is call to action or call to agreement. Right. So that framework there, if I got that, here's what I know. I've spoken with Morgan, I've spoken with Anish, I've spoken with Mika. Here's what I know right now. Here are the problems that you're running into and the impact of those problems, right? CTD, connect the dots. Here's what we can do for you. Show me those things specifically, right? In fact, Morgan shared with me, like, really at the end of the day, you care about whatever, likes. Well, I'm making shit up right now, but you know, like, it's like, let me show you specifically, right? This is how it's going to impact your likes here, right? So call to action. If this looks good, I'd like to get one call set up. I'll keep it under 20 minutes for you, walk through different pricing packages for you to get this done quickly and easily. Let me know when you're available. So that video overview, now I can see it. I can go back and watch it. I can get that review for it. Now I know what questions to ask my managers. So yeah, video follow-up is massive, and it's so much easier than trying to get 30 minutes on my calendar.
Yeah, and the thing is, to your point, right, is the busyness. You were efficient, you fall within those frameworks, and if you can't answer one of those letters, right, you're gonna be in trouble, right? Like, because if you're just like, oh, I guess, and too, we were just talking about, like, if it was just like, oh, we just discovered you only want to likes, well, you're probably like, well, the discovery was off there too. You need to have probably at least 3 main things as the the root of everything. Because otherwise it's gonna be like, wait, what, did you even learn anything from my team? What's going on? It goes back to what you said earlier.
Because then it forces me to do work as a buyer, and like I don't have time to do your job for you. If I have to sell myself, if I have to sell my managers, if I have to figure out how this is going to work, if I have to figure out if the return is going to be worth it, if I have to figure out how long it's going to take to onboard, like it's too much work, right? That's where like some of the deals that are stalled right now are because I have to do too much. You know what I'm trying to achieve. Help me achieve that thing. If I have to take the thing and figure out how to do it, it's already dead. It's too much work.
So I want to go, the whole thing that we've been talking about is like you doing too much work. Obviously the seller needs to do work, educate you, build internal sellers. As the report that came out from Calendly, it talks about how when you're in meetings, right, say like a discovery call, 65, this is actually really interesting, 65% of boomers reported feeling it's appropriate to intervene when the agenda is running off course based on the current discussion. So based on that information I gave you, when a seller's on a call and let's say they sent an agenda to the buyer might be trying to deviate. How do you make sure to keep things on course for the agenda and when it's appropriate? And then something that we talked about is if you're an educated buyer, sometimes you might go off that agenda because you might need to just expedite it and show the right thing. So how does a seller know when to be like, okay, this agenda is going way off the rails and like, this is not helpful, and when to go maybe a little bit off the agenda because you know that action is going to lead to what you're looking for, which is the closed deal?
Well, it's funny because, it gets talked about a lot in sales, like the power dynamic, like, oh, you gotta be on equal footing with your buyer, or like your time is just as valuable as the buyer's time. It's like, look, to be very clear, no, that's not how this works. Like you need something from me. Let's see if we can make this happen. So really, whose agenda actually matters more, right? Like the buyer's agenda is going to tell you a lot of what you need to know in order to sell them. And so it's actually too often sellers try to get back to their agenda versus really paying attention to the agenda that individual is trying to take it down, right? And it just sets up a phenomenal question of like, so Morgan, what we were originally hoping to cover on this call was X, Y, and Z, but I can see ABC is really important to you. Could we unpack that a little bit more, right? Like what's driving the focus there, or what has this as a top concern right now? Like you are going to learn so much there, whereas sellers too often, when it starts to go to the side, all they're thinking about is how do I bring it back? How do I bring it back? How to bring it back? Versus listening and going, well, wait a minute. This is clearly what's most important to this person, right? So that's the biggest one, is like listen, but you'll be shocked how you can weave in your agenda through theirs. Because really the agenda more often than not should be a lot about questions anyway. And so it's like, all right, they go here, you can ask questions and bring it back. They go over here, you ask questions and you bring it back. So that would be my advice there, is first listen to their agenda. Listen to their agenda, because you're going to learn a lot about it. But then it is reminding them what is the outcome they're trying to achieve. So let's, you're on a second demo and they're going deep on, well, I want to understand the API integrations and da. You say, cool, I'm happy to go down that path. However, I actually don't think that is as aligned to the goals you're trying to achieve right now. So we can go there. Or would it be okay if I sent you just a video overview of that section so we can keep today's call focused on how we're helping you achieve XYZ goal? Would that be okay? Which would you prefer? Oh yeah, okay, yeah, send me the video overview, but you gotta remind them why they're in these conversations in the first place. And so I think that's also very important. And I'll say the last one on the agenda is send it ahead of time, get confirmation that sounds good, right? And then when you kick it off, you recap that agenda and you say, what else? It's one of my favorite agenda questions. All right, so here's what we're hoping to cover real quick so we can make this XYZ. What else would you like to make sure we cover today? Oh, Morgan, I really want to know something about the likes. Like, okay, I will make sure we get into that today before we let go, right? That way I know it's going to be covered, because then otherwise too, if like the analogy I always use, if you're fighting like with your girl, right, and she's arguing with you, you're not listening. Like you're waiting to say the thing you want to say. So if the whole discovery call, all that's going in my head is like, when are we going to talk about likes? When are we going to talk about likes? And I don't know if we're going to talk about likes. I'm also not listening to you either. I'm just like waiting for the opportunity to bring it up.
Yeah, no, I that's a really good call out, is letting them know here's what it is, but also giving them the opportunity to state what else it might be. And to your point, active listening, what's going on, what's happening, and how to unpack that. So Katie, you give us a lot of amazing information that everyone go execute on. Is there one really quick thing that you would like to leave us with before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'll drop this one for everyone else, is you need to create, call it persona-based FAQ docs. This is very, very important. Will help you speed up your sales cycle immensely. If you are a seller and you've been selling even for more than a year, you know what questions finance is going to ask that VP. You know what questions legal is going to ask that VP. You know what questions the VP is going to ask the manager. You create persona-based FAQ docs, and this is a way to empower your buyer. Where it's like, just too often, right? They go and meet with engineering, and the engineering's way smarter than me, so they're asking me questions of like, oh yeah, well, how, what's the level of SOC 2, da-da-da. I'm like, they got some socks. I heard they match.
Nike?
But I think there's some Nike. I think they're polyester. Not sure. Right? Versus like, yo, I'm talking to this vendor. Here's their FAQ for engineering based off the integrations that they have. And it covers 80, 90, like create those. And that makes, again, my job as the buyer so much easier, because I can now hand those things off and help people internally get on the same page.
Awesome. Well, Katie, again, thank you so much. Hopefully y'all took some notes. Y'all can go execute now, and your team is now more equipped to talk to buyers. So we'll see you all on the next episode.